Hello there and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Deepa Robbins from DeeZinesByD, and I'm going to be combining a few different stamp and die products from different companies in order to create a nice feminine birthday card that can be used for anybody in your circle. The companies that I combined were Altenew and their stamps for the insides of your cards and little sentiments, Spellbinders floral and leafy elements, and then also the botanical Turnabout stamp set from Concord 9th, along with the coordinating die set, which you can see there. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is find the center of your card front. Here I'm using 5" by 7" white cardstock and Neenah Exact Index, and it's about a 90-pound cardstock. What I'm doing is finding the center and then marking it with just a pencil there. You can see that little dot. And for this technique, you're going to want to use a stamp positioner. It's just going to make it much easier, especially if you need to stamp more than once to create a solid image. So this set actually comes with a template that you can see here, that little acetate sheet, and you take the stamp and line it up on top of the template. And I'm actually doing this a little differently than you normally would. I'm lining the template up with that little dot in the center. And then I'm removing the template after I've pulled down my lid to pick up the stamp. And first of all, I'm stamping out the image with Altenew Coral Bliss. Now, normally you would actually use a jig to do this. And when you use a jig, you are setting your cardstock on the jig such that you can move the jig around and turn it about in order to stamp out your image. I'm actually going to be turning about the card front. Actually, no, sorry. I'm going to be leaving the card front and I'm going to be turning about the stamp, which is not really how it's meant to be used, but you can do it this way. It takes a little bit longer, not that much longer, but if you did happen to mess up from the get-go, this is a good way to correct it. And I mean, I've used this stamp before, not this stamp, but Turnabout stamps, and it's been a long time since I've used one, so that's the main reason for my little mistake. But I did want to show you this way of doing it in case, I don't know, maybe you find it a little easier for yourself because you don't have to use a jig, or I have no reason why it wouldn't be a perfectly valid method to use. So here it is. So now you can see I'm figuring out how I'm going to do this because I realized I didn't use a jig. So I just turned my stamp 90 degrees using the template to line it up again. This time I'm going to use the Altenew Hydrangea ink and stamp this out again. So as you can see, it does, like I said, it takes a little bit longer, but I got the same product in the end. And I mean, everybody comes up with their own way of doing things, and I just thought this was a different, unique way that you guys might want to have a look at. So again, I'm going ahead and I'm turning that stamp another 90 degrees, and I will be picking up the stamp again using the template. So it's literally just setting up your stamp to stamp in the beginning all 4 times that you do the stamping, which kind of defeats the purpose of the turnabout being so easy, but hey, I did it. So anyways, there I used some Firefly ink. And then the next ink that I'm using here is actually some My Favorite Things hybrid ink, and it's called In the Buff. It's a little more of a peachy color, kind of like a skin tone color. And I use this because I actually find that Altenew doesn't have many peaches. So if Altenew's listening, can you please create a peach line of ink? That would be really great. Anyways, moving on. I went ahead and die cut the 2 diamonds from Rose Gold cardstock by Sizzix. And I also used the same cardstock, which is a mirror cardstock, to cut out this Warm Hugs die. This is from Simon Says Stamp. And I actually cut out the Inner Sentiment from Blush Recollections cardstock. And I'm showing you that I used this Artist Tack dry permanent adhesive here. You can see you just kind of open the flap there. It comes exactly like this. And you put your die in the center and kind of rub it or kind of burnish it down. You can see I'm doing that with the bone folder there. And and I'm going to pick it up. You can see it's really sticky. It's sticking to the paper, right? So it kind of creates like a sticker for you. So my die cut has picked up all the stickiness on the back, and then all I really have to do is set it down exactly where I want it. Now, as you can see here, I kind of lift it up again. So it's not permanent until it fully dries and is kind of burnished to the paper, or onto the paper you're adhering it to. So here you can see I'm kind of just burnishing it down, and there it's not going to go anywhere, and it's nicely stuck to the paper with no stickiness. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with these two diamond shaped die cuts as well. So this was cut from the die that comes with the Botanical Turnabout stamp set. Well, it actually doesn't come with it. You can buy it with it, but it's the coordinating die. So here I go. I've got that dry adhesive on the back of those two pieces, and I'm kind of just going to line it up in the center. And as you can see, I'm showing you I still have that little mark where the center of my front is, and I'm going to offset this a bit to the left and then add the second diamond offset a bit to the right so that it creates this kind of double diamond pattern here. And like you see, I'm burnishing it down, but this time I turn the paper over so I don't move it. Next, I'm going to be using these Spellbinders Hello and Thank You in Slimline Kaleidoscope Heart sets. And I'm not using the whole set. I'm just using some floral pieces, floral dies, and leafy dies to cut out some dies to add accents to my card front. So I'm showing you that I used the Coral Bliss to stamp the base, the card front, and now I'm actually going to use that pink pearl to create my own colored cardstock. This is a really handy tip. I think I've shown it in my last video. And you know, it's hard to try to match up your cardstocks to the ink that you're using. So this comes in handy because you get your papers to match your inks exactly. And if you're really particular about keeping your inks well, I wouldn't really recommend doing this unless you have the re-inkers. And I have all of the re-inkers for the complete Altenew ink line. So that's why I go ahead and do this with my Altenew inks all the time. So now here you can see I've created these 3 colored cardstocks from Pink Pearl, Wisteria, and Shadow Creek, which are colors that are a little bit lighter or darker than the colors I used on the front of the card. And now I'm showing you that I'm going to use this Sidekick by Sizzix to kind of cut out my die cuts. I'm not going to do all the die cutting on screen. So here I have all of them cut out, and I also cut out some pieces from that rose gold cardstock from Sizzix, the mirror cardstock. And I'll show you a bit of my assembly of these little pieces. Now, the reason why I use these is I really liked these, especially the little flowers that come with the Spellbinder sets. Honestly, this is a great way to combine products from different companies to create a really unique and nice look. Just think of all the sets you have and the things that you like the most from each of them, and just kind of think of ways to combine them. This is exactly what I did. And I have to admit, I love all the little florals, all the tiny little flowers, the little hearts, the little leaves that come with all of the Spellbinder sets. And lately I've been doing a lot of die cutting and putting their little pieces together because I do find it a bit therapeutic. It is really exciting to me when I've cut out all my little pieces and then I'm like, all right, I'm ready to glue them all together. It's just, you should try it sometime if you haven't, because it really is a lot of fun. So I'm going to show you how I've put together a few flowers for each of the different sizes here. Now these ones are from the Slimline Kaleidoscope Hearts set, and this was actually a large die of the month. I think this was for January 2021, and I don't know that they still have it available in their shop. I would try and look for it if you could, but you know, I know sometimes they do sell them after the fact. They're a little bit more expensive, but you can still buy them. And these little flowers are from the Hello and Thank You small die of the month, and I think this is actually from 2020. I have everything listed in my blog, so just go ahead and look at the description below. And if you click on my blog and look at this blog post, you'll see all the supplies that I used. So there I go. just adhering those last few pieces there. And then I'll move on to the next step. So next, what I'm going to do is, actually I've got a little tip for you here. So I actually made a lot of these, and I used the card scraps that I have, like the cardstock scraps. I'm showing you here, I keep them all together in these little leaflets, and I don't throw anything away. Those little pieces there I'll use for something else, just as I did here for these little die cuts. So next, I have the sentiment from the Altenew Beautiful Inside stamp set. I really like this stamp set. I use it a lot for the sentiments, especially for the insides and then for little elements on the outside of the card. So I'm actually going to do some selective stamping here. You could cut your stamp, but I'm not going to do that. I have sending hugs here. That's what the stamp says. And I'm going to block off the hugs with some washi tape. Then I'm going to use some more VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink to ink up my stamp. And before I stamp, most important part, take that washi tape off, and then I'll stamp at the bottom of my paper there. Now this is some of that pink pearl cardstock that we created earlier. And then I'm going to use my Tim Holtz Tonic Studios guillotine cutter to cut that down to size. And next I'm going to take my fussy cutting scissors to cut down the ends of this sentiment strip and create flag ends. Now all you have to do this is create a little snip in the center and then angle the top edge towards the middle, the end of that little snip on either side. And there you have it. So the next step is, oh, another tips here. So I'm showing you here this little mess up on the die cut. Some of the foil came off, and a good thing with these little floral die cuts I created is that you can use them to cover up these types of little errors that you've made. So never ever just throw something away because you think you've messed up. It can be used at some point for another card, or you can cover up any little mistakes. So here I'm showing you that I've adhered the sentiment strip and the large sentiment in the center, warm hugs, with some foam tape there, some foam squares. And I'm just kind of assembling all the little floral pieces and leaf fronds onto the front here. So this is my general process. I'll just kind of put them around the card front wherever I see fit. I'll put the little leaves in underneath. And then once I feel like I've got everything where I want it, and sometimes I don't even finish the whole thing, I'll just do a bit of it and then kind of start gluing things on and then add more and more at the end. It's everyone has a different creative process, but I find this is what works for me. And I love that little jewel pickup tool that I have there, that embellishment tool. I actually got that off of Amazon, and it has some replacement heads. The little ends are made out of wax, so that's how it picks up the jewels and even these little pieces of cardstock very easily. So I'll just finish adhering all these pieces with my Simon Says Stamp Craft Tacky glue. And another tip is you can use these small containers. They're very cheap. You can get them off of Amazon as well. And I use them for all my extra little pieces, all my extra little die cuts and things like this. I'll just put them all in there and put them to the side. I try and keep them where I can see them, like on my desk somewhere, so that if I do feel like I need something extra for my cards, I could kind of look at what I have and use them. That way I'm not wasting anything. And last but not least, embellishments. So I mentioned in my last video that I use these gems called Lolly Beads rhinestones, and they're from Amazon. They're actually nail art gems, and I really like them because they're very shiny. They have a lot of different colors. This is a black. They have white, they have AB. There's so many different colors. Definitely think that it's worth having a look. And then I've also got these other different colored gems from Studio Katya that I'm adding here as well. Those were just for the center of the florals. So now I'll move on to my card base. I'm using some heavier cardstock here, and this is how I make all of my card bases. I generally just cut the right size widthwise, And then I'll score in the center the size of my card front, and then I'll fold it and then cut off the extra edge. Now I decided that I didn't want this white to be my complete card front, so I cut it down about 1/4 of an inch on either side, and then I cut some of this mint to green cardstock, I think it's Recollections, and now I'm adding it to either side of the front of my card base. This is some Be Creative tape, about 1/2 inch size. So all I have to do is add some of that tape, release the release paper, and add each of these pieces or strips of cardstock to the edges to either the left or right side, and I'll cut off the excess there at the top. Now this is the Altenew Say It With Love stamp set. This is a newer set, and I really like it because it's got a lot of different sentiments that you can use for the insides of your cards. So I used to use that other set, the Beautiful Inside set, all the time because it's really hard to find sentiments for the insides of your cards, and I would definitely say that this is my second favorite set for the insides of cards. So I'm gonna go ahead and stamp it here, lining it up with my ruler, my T-square ruler, with some VersaFine Clear Fallen Leaves ink. And just to tie the inside in to the outside, I'm using some of those extra little florals that I didn't end up using on the front on the inside. This makes the card more fluid such that the inside matches the outside. So I'll add that in the same manner, and I don't think I show it here, but I also add some of those lolly bead gems to the center of the flowers as well. And there you have it. There's my final card for you. I hope that some of the tips and tricks that I put in here are of use to you. And if you liked my video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. If you're more of a reader, you can always take a look at my blog, which I've linked below, and any of the supplies that I've used in this video are listed in my blog. There are a couple more links to other videos that I've made that you might want to take a look at here. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you again next time. Thanks, bye.